up, y'all? Welcome to Sabrina Talks. I'm Sabrina if you're new. If you're not, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Now today on Sabrina Talks, we are going to be talking about the second season of the TV show Love, Victor. I've also talked about the first season of Love, Victor on my channel, and if you haven't seen that before, I'll link it down in my description and in the cards up at the top here. But for this video, we are going to be talking about all of my thoughts and opinions on this second season. To refresh everybody's brain, Love, Victor is a show that is based in the world of Love, Simon, the movie that came out back in, I think, like 2019, 18, something like that. It focuses around a kid named Victor who is new to Creekwood and Atlanta, and he is trying to figure out, at least in the first season, whether or not he's gay, and he starts dating a girl, and he's kind of going through the whole teenage feelings of, well, what the heck do I really actually like? By the end of the season, though, he does, accept that he is gay. They leave us on a cliffhanger in the last season of season 1 where they show us that Victor is about to come out to his family, and then the episode ends, and then thankfully that's where we begin in season 2. But in regards to my thoughts on the first season, I really loved it. I thought it was just adorable and cute, and it gave me the same wholesome vibes that the movie Love, Simon does, so I really enjoyed it, and I was excited for the second season. So let's get into my thoughts on what happened in the second season. I won't be going episode by episode. I'll just be kind of talking about characters, relationships, and just kind of my general feelings towards it. By the way, I will be going into spoilers on this video, so if you have not seen the second season of Love, Victor, I suggest you go watch it and then come back to my channel so we can talk about it together. So let's first start off with all of the relationships in this show. Let's first, of course, start off with the main couple of this show, which is Victor and Benji. Now, I in season 1 loved Victor and Benji. I thought they were cute. I thought they were great. I still very much support them in this second season. But Benji, and we'll get to how I feel about Benji this season in a little bit, but he's just been doing dumb nonsense all season, and I just have not been a fan. I would like them to stay together because I think they're just generally cute and good for each other, but I'm gonna need Benji to do better next season because he was just being ridiculous. The next couple I'm going to talk about is Mia and Andrew. I'm really glad that by the end of this season they got together, because since we've met them, they've been kind of dancing around each other and acting like they didn't want each other when we all knew they wanted each other. So I'm really happy they're together. They didn't start off this season together because, Andrew was dating somebody else and Mia was going through all of the things that Mia is going through, which we'll get to. But I'm glad that they finally got their crap together. And plus, they're the only black couple in this show, so of course I'm going to root for them. Next, let's talk about Lake and Felix. This was a relationship that I loved in the first season. I just thought they were just incredibly cute. They fit together so well to me, so I was just happy with this relationship. And then this season came and I was still really happy with this relationship. The problem that occurred this season is that Lake did something that Felix wasn't a big fan of, which we'll get into that later. Like I said, I'm kind of sad that they ended this season not together because I really enjoy them as a couple. But as we're going to now Pilar and Felix, I kind of enjoy Pilar and Felix together because they are my two favorite characters of the show. So them together is a good mix to me. But I'm kind of concerned that the relationship is only really held together by the whole thing with Felix's mom, and how Pilar was very supportive of him when he kind of needed somebody to be supportive and listen to him. So I'm hoping next season we get more of them just hanging out and not having everything deal around Felix's mom. But we shall see. Now I want to get into the characters and what happened to them this season and how I feel about it all. And let's of course start off with my little cherub angel, Victor. I really enjoyed Victor this season. I feel like he didn't fall into that main character trope where no one really likes the main character because they just do dumb things all the time. I feel like he made a lot less dumb decisions this season, and he really grew and kind of grew into himself. He's still a main character and he's still a teenager, so of course he's still gonna make dumb decisions. But for the most part, I think his character developed really well. I really love that this season was really about Victor standing up for himself, because last season we talked about how he's just kind of like a people pleaser and he's the peacemaker of their household, and he's always just kind of doing things to make other people happy. But this season he kept standing up to his mom, he was standing up to Andrew, he was standing up to every and anybody and making sure he was heard, and he was able to get what he felt off of his chest. One little thing that I really enjoyed this season with like Victor's character is that he kept asking everybody if they could talk. Like anytime he was going to have like a serious conversation or just like a regular conversation with someone, he'd be like, hey, can I talk to you? Hey, can we talk for a second?
Hey, can I talk to you for a second? Can we talk for a second? Can we talk for a second?
And I don't know if they did that in the first season and I just didn't pay attention to it, but I noticed it so much in this season. And I think it adds so much to his character because we know that he's like a sweetheart and he really just wants to be nice to everybody. So for the fact that he's always asking someone like, hey, can we talk? Hey, can we chat? Like giving them the option to be like, no, I really enjoyed. Speaking of Victor just generally being nice and respectful, I really love the way that he treated Mia this season. Like, he's still wrong for cheating on her twice, but I really enjoyed the fact that he was always like, hey, can we talk about this? I want to make things better because, you know, I genuinely care about you and like, you were genuinely my best friend. Like, he really wants to make things right between them, and he wasn't pushy, he wasn't annoying. He wasn't like, why are you not trying to talk to me? He was so understanding. And I'm really grateful at the fact that they added that to his character and added that to the plot. Speaking of Mia, let's talk about my girl Mia next, because I consider her one of the main characters because we see more of her life compared to like everybody else. But my girl Mia was disrespected this whole entire season, and I got beef with the writers for doing that. My girl was going through trauma left and right. Like, let's talk about the first episode of this season. My girl Mia comes home from camp to find out that her room is stuffed with a bunch of baby stuff because her dad and the fiance just been packing up stuff because she's been away at camp. Sure, that's annoying. Whatever. But then she goes to go hang out with her best friend Lake, but Lake's hanging out with her ex, so she obviously doesn't want to be around there, so she can't even confide in her best friend. And then, you know, she goes out to go get something to eat later on in the episode, and she runs into Andrew with his new girlfriend. So now she's really feeling extra alone because she can't even confide in her best friend. She can't even be home. And then the next person she would go to, which is Andrew, got a girlfriend. And then she finally decides, you know what, I'm not going to be alone. I'm going to take up Lake's offer to go hang out with them at their little bonfire on the lake. But then goes over there to the lake and see all of them being cozy and, you know, having a good old time. And she was like, actually, you know what, I'm not even going to try to involve myself because that seems like I'm going to be fifth wheeling. And then goes home after driving an hour with her food to go meet up with them. And that was all in the first episode. Like, my girl could not catch a break. And that makes me mad. And like the big couple of episodes of the season, Mia starts dating this college boy. He's also really into art. They start connecting. And I'm like, yes, Mia's going to find some happiness. She's going to get the attention that she's kind of craving. She's going to feel seen. Great. But then Tyler turns out to be a pretentious, annoying, self-centered man, and she has to dump him. Why can't my girl find happiness? I mean, she finally found happiness towards the end when she started dating Andrew again. But like, that was towards the end of the season. So my girl was just struggling all throughout. Not only was I stressing about the way they was treating Mia this whole season, I was also stressing about this girl's own disregard for her own safety throughout the whole entire season, because she went to the college party and she was just picking up random drinks. Like, Miss Ma'am, why would you just be picking up random drinks at a college party? Don't you know you could get roofied? There could be somebody trying to sneak something and kidnap you. Why also would you go by yourself? And then had nerve to get drunk. Like, Miss Ma'am, you just had no concern for your safety. None at all. Also, when she broke up with Tyler, she walked 5 miles in a rural area to the cabin by herself. Now, I know they ain't got no service in the cabin, but ma'am, you can't just be walking 5 miles in the dark by yourself in some rural area when you are a young girl. Note to whoever's watching this, pour your own drinks. Don't go to parties by yourself. Make sure somebody knows where you are at all times, because people be tripping nowadays and you need to keep yourself safe. Oh, and how can I forget the biggest thing with Mia that had me stressed? Her trash dad. Her dad got an offer to go be at Stanford and be the principal or the dean or whatever the heck he was going to be. And he was like, oh, Mia, should I take this offer? And Mia's like, of course. But then Mia was like, actually, Dad, can you not? Because I don't want my life uprooted in my junior year of high school. And he was like, oh, of course, baby. But then sneakily still accepts the offer and doesn't tell her until the wedding. Sir, absolute trash. Like, why would you ever do that to your daughter? She told you that she felt like you always put your job and your career over her when she's your own daughter. She's your flesh and blood. And then you want to go talk about in your vows how you going to put, homegirl from One Tree Hill and the baby above everything else. When you got a whole daughter that you have not been putting above everything else. That made me so mad. Niggas ain't shit. I don't know what beef the writers had with Mia this season. Maybe just because she's the only black girl, so they gotta put her with all the trauma. I don't know, but I'm gonna need them to stop it because Mia deserves so much better than that. Next character I want to talk about is Felix. He's also somebody I consider like a main character. We thankfully get into more of Felix's life. Like, we saw some of his mom in the first season, but we really get to be delved into his relationship at home more this season. And wow, did this boy break my heart this season, because he was crying and he was feeling emotions and he was just breaking my little heart. Because like I said, Felix is one of my favorite characters. So anytime Felix is upset in the show, I'm upset in the show because that's my fave. He's my fave. This character gets to be more than like the nerdy, funny sidekick character. We get to see how he is at home and how he's trying to take care of everything and take care of his mom. And obviously his financial situation, because he was working at the coffee shop and then was trying to do all kind of odd jobs so he can pay the rent and pay the bills. And he was still able to be such a good friend to Victor and everybody else in the show. I'm really glad that this season didn't like try to water down the relationship between Victor and Felix, because they had such a great friendship in the first season, and we get to see more of their connection as they're like going through all of their trauma together, and I really enjoyed that. Next, let's move on to Benji. Now, I had no issues with Benji in the first season. I thought he was cute, he was harmless, he seemed like a top-notch guy. Now this season, I feel like Benji's acting up. Like, for example, when Victor chickened out on coming out the first day of school and like announcing to everybody that he's in a relationship with Benji, and Benji was acting all like upfronted about it, and it's like, Victor is very much still a baby gay. If he decides he didn't want to come out that day, even though he said he was ready 2 days ago, you should still be understanding, because you know how difficult this is. Like, he's basically coming out to the whole school and he still has to deal with the whole thing with Mia from last season. So why would you ever be kind of upset or like annoyed at the fact that he didn't actually do it? I also do not like in episode 5 when he tries to act like Victor playing basketball was such a terrible thing. Because it's like, you started dating this man. Like, you knew he liked basketball. You knew he was into it. So why would you ever start making fun of it now? It's one thing to do it with your friends when Victor's not around, but Victor was right there and you just cracking jokes like this man was not upset about having to quit the team. I didn't like that at all. When Benji really started getting on my nerves is when he had his little outburst at his birthday. Like, yeah, I know you surprised that Victor is here, and basically revealed to Victor that you were in AA and he didn't know about it. Like, yeah, that's kind of annoying, but to lash out at Victor and talk about how like, well, I've been so patient with you, I've been so this, that, and the third with you, like, why aren't you understanding of the situation for me? Why aren't you immediately forgiving me? That was just peak annoying behavior, especially when you had a whole conversation with him in an earlier episode about how you know who you're dating and you know that Victor is new to all of these things, but then you're still gonna throw it in his face then? Like, clearly you didn't mean it when you first talked about it. And the cherry on top of my annoyance of Benji this season was when he started yelling at Victor's mom after she just caught them having sex in Victor's house. I understand you got your issues with his mom. I know it's probably annoying to hear her call you his friend when you know you're his boyfriend all the time, but to out Victor in front of his little brother when you know that was a sore subject from the beginning, to go yell at the mom and act like she's only mad because they're having gay sex, it's like, I'm sure that's a little bit of it, but at the end of the day, Victor's mom had every right to be upset. Why are you having sex at my house when you're supposed to be watching your brother? Why are you having sex in my house when you are an underage child? Why are you having sex in my house when your kid brother is asleep next door? All of these are valid reasons to be upset. And even Victor was like, she's upset because she just caught her child having sex. Every parent would be a little bit weirded out by that. So for him to be acting like she was just so unreasonable and that she needed to apologize, that was like peak white boy behavior to me, and that's when I was like, Benji, you're getting on my nerves now. Next, I just kind of want to talk about some of the smaller characters. So first, Pilar. Love Pilar, like I said. Pilar is one of my favorite characters just because she's so angsty and sarcastic. But I really, really enjoyed I Have a Crush Pilar because she was just so cute and I just really wanted to give her a hug. She was just being like sickeningly sweet all season and I just really loved that, especially when she gave her concert money to Felix. Oh, I mean, I know that was just because she got a crush on him. But regardless, that's like about $200 that she gave to him. And she, as a teenager, could have used it for herself and been selfish. But she wanted to be nice. And I love that. I also want to talk about the parents real quick. I love the fact that Isabel, Victor's mom, started off this season like kind of weary and like, oh, I don't know about this, but ended the season like, okay, I'm over it. I love my child, like no matter what. I'm also really glad that they didn't make her evil or just mean. Like she did some annoying things like throwing away that whole pot of food when you could have made up any other excuse to not be a part of that dinner, or when she was just blatantly rude to like Benji and then like being nice to Raheem even though Raheem is also gay. All of that was annoying, but I'm glad that through and through it was like, well, I love my son, but I'm kind of wrestling with this idea of him being gay. There was never a doubt that she didn't love him, and I like that. I'm also happy with the way they developed Armando, Victor's dad. I was surprised he was going to be the one who was like, yeah, okay, you know, it's a bit weird, but, you know, I love you, son. Like, I'm going to try my best to maintain this relationship and make sure you feel supported and loved. I love the fact that he went to the PFLAG meetings. I also really love the fact that we got a cameo from Simon's dad. That made my heart happy. Finally, let's just talk about Lake and Andrew. Andrew, I mean, he's just there. There's not much to him. This season, he's a lot nicer to like Victor and Felix, which I'm happy about because we don't always need an annoying jock in a show. So I'm glad he's, you know, nicer. I'm glad he finally gets to be with Mia because that was his whole like plot point in the first season where he just really wants to be with Mia. I'm liking what they're doing with Andrew. I hope they continue to progress his character. Now with Lake, I've always enjoyed Lake. I thought she was going to be annoying in the first season, but she warmed up to me very quickly. And I feel like she's still the same Lake in this season. She's still very supportive of Mia. She's also very supportive with Felix. I like that they continued her like insecurities from the first season with her body and just like all of her insecurities that her mom kind of gave her. Most of her storyline was just kind of based around Felix, so there wasn't really much for her to do besides, you know, be a great girlfriend and also just, you know, be the comedy relief in this show, because between her and Victor's little brother Adrian, I think they provide the best like little one-liners. Oh, and Felix too. Felix is also hilarious. Now that we talked about all the characters and some of the plot points regarding those characters, I want to talk about some of my gripes within this show. Like I said when I was talking about Mia, I absolutely hated the way they treated Mia this season. I feel like that was completely unnecessary. It's definitely fallen into the trope of we're gonna make the only black girl on the show have all of the trauma because we can't have black women be happy. I hate to go down that like they treat black women bad route, but it's clear as day in this show. I also really, really do not like the fact that they kept glossing over the fact that Victor cheated on Mia twice. Like, they kept talking about what happened between Victor and Mia, but neither Victor or Mia never talked about in direct words how Victor basically cheated on her. They talk about how Mia feels about it because she's like, I feel like I can't be mad about it because, you know, you clearly were struggling with your sexuality and now you're happy. But at the end of the day, gay or not, he still cheated on somebody he was committed to, and that's terrible. And he did it twice. No one's talking about the fact that he did it twice. He kissed Benji that first time when they went to go, you know, on their little work trip or whatever, and he ignored Mia then. And then he did it again at the dance. But no one's talking about it, and I don't like that. I'm also greatly annoyed at the fact that they tried to do the whole love triangle thing again with Raheem's character, because like Victor and Benji already had their problems. I really didn't think we needed the whole love triangle trope to really exemplify more problems in their relationship. And it's also annoying because it's like, why can't these two just be friends? Like, why can't Victor just have like a nice gay friend instead of having to make it be something that's romantic? That just really annoyed me because I really see the potential of Raheem and Victor just being like some great friends and like figuring out the whole being a fresh gay together, but clearly we can't have nice things. I want to say my biggest gripe with this show is its relationship with interracial relationships. Essentially every person of color in this show at one point was in an interracial relationship besides Raheem because he's new, and I'm not a fan of that. Like, I respect the idea of having more representation of interracial relationships, But what I do not like is the trope that they continue to do, that Hollywood continues to do, where they have a person of color who only ever dates a white person, and that's the only interracial relationship that they showcase. It's never one person of color and another person of color. It always has to be a person of color and a white person. And even when one person of color ends up dating another person of color, they always end up not dating that person anymore and go with a white person. I hate it. I plan on making a whole video about that topic, so stay tuned for that. But it's so apparent in this show. Like, we had Victor, Mia, and Benji. Victor and Mia were dating, but then obviously Victor's gay, so he ends up with Benji, which is a white man. In this season, we had Victor, Benji, and Raheem. Obviously, Victor is not going to end up with Raheem. They left us on a cliffhanger at the end of this season, but we know for a fact it's not going to be Raheem, because that just doesn't fit their trope, and that doesn't fit what they've been doing with throughout this whole entire show. We also had Andrew, Lucy, and Mia. Obviously, Andrew and Mia ended up being together, which is shocking and diverts from the trope, but at the same time, it's still them with somebody who is a white person. Felix, Lake, and Pilar are another one who kind of diverts from the typical trope, but still kind of fits into it. Because Felix ends up picking Pilar over Lake, which is surprising. Victor's dad also ends up kind of seeing like this white lady. Sure, it's seeming like he's gonna end up back with Isabel, but we'll see. And then Mia's dad is dating the One Tree Hill girl, and that's just another black person with a white person. Honestly, I'm sick and tired of it. I would just like to see different representations of interracial relationships, but no one ever wants to give me that, because of course we gotta continue the storyline of the white people being the prize and the people that are the most desirable. All my gripes aside, let's get into some positives of this show. The episode where they're all horny, like all of the teenagers are horny and they go to Benji's cabin. That's probably one of my favorite episodes. Not because, you know, the teens are horny and want to have sex. That's creepy. We're not doing that. But it's my favorite because I think it has the most gems that are dropped. It has some of the more funnier scenes, like Victor and Felix in the bathroom both bleeding because they're both trying to get ready or avoid having sex. I think that's hilarious. The part where Andrew gives some great advice to Felix about sex, I love that. I think they handled the whole, like, Victor's a baby gay and doesn't really know about gay sex pretty well. They don't go, you know, really in depth into anything. They kind of leave it at surface level, but the fact that they're talking about it at least in like a casual way, I think is great. Also, side note, the fact that Victor and Benji was trying to get hot and heavy in the job, irresponsible. It's such a teenage thing to do, but like, come on, y'all. Y'all are in a coffee shop where you're feeding people. You can't just be out here trying to take off each other's shirt. I love the character of Raheem. We only really got to know him in like the latter half of this season, so I just kind of want to talk about how I like him. I really like his character. I like that the fact that he's like a different kind of gay compared to Victor. I like their friendship. I hope it continues to be a friendship and we abandon this whole romantic aspect to them. Even though they would make a very cute couple, I think I like them better as friends. So I'm happy with the introduction of his character. I hope to see him more in the next season. I think the writers really handled Felix's mom situation really well. I think they handled the whole situation with Lake and Felix's mom and Felix really well. I personally think it's understandable for Lake to have told her mom, because Felix's whole situation is hard for one teen to handle. To now tell another teen and for them to hold is also difficult. So it makes sense to me for her to tell her mom, but I completely understand and agree with Felix. Like, yeah, you know, you really did a great thing and thankfully it worked out really well in Felix's favor. However, this could have gone left really quick and Felix could have been lost in the sauce of the foster care system. He could have lost his mom for God knows how long. Like, it really could have been bad really quickly. So at the end of the season where Felix ends up picking Pilar and telling Lake, like, thank you for all that you did for me, but we still can't get together, I think that was the best way to execute that. Because even if he forgave Lake and, you know, he thanked her, that's still a loss of trust, and I wouldn't imagine that they would immediately just go back to being together and everything being all hunky-dory. Also, something that I noticed with this season, all of the main characters, like I said, who I think are Victor, Mia, and Felix, all had storylines related to their parents, or all had to kind of be the adult in their parent-child relationship. Like, Victor always had to be like the peacemaker in his household, and especially in this season always had to like stand up for himself and be a little bit more mature. And then Mia, I mean, Mia had to be independent all her life because her father is trash and was never around because he's over here gallivanting and extending his career. And then Felix obviously has to be an adult because he needs to pay the bills because his mom is having her mental issues. All of them essentially kind of had to be adult in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's a nice addition to the teen show, especially since the relationship and the plot lines with the parents aren't so superficial like with some of the other teen shows like Riverdale or Gossip Girl. It's still very much like a surface level of all of the things that they're dealing with, but it's done in like a thoughtful but like casual way to where it doesn't feel like, you know, they're just kind of bringing it up just to say they brought it up. They're actually trying to say something with it, not in a too deep way where it might be preachy or it might be something like Euphoria where it's just a lot heavier. Lastly, for this review, I just kind of want to talk about some additional little things that I love and just like my overall thoughts of the season. One of the little baby things that I really love is Adrian. I've kind of talked about him a little bit before, but Adrian this whole entire season was hilarious. The fact that he was like, oh, you're gay like my friend's two moms, or like how SpongeBob is gay. I think that was the most appropriate way to handle Adrian, you know, coming to terms with Victor being gay, because as much as people try to say kids don't need to be learning about that or kids won't understand that, kids are very understanding about a lot of things. I'm so happy that they did that in such a realistic kind of way. Another fun little realistic thing that I'm glad that they added to the show is when Victor tells Simon that he like came out to the school and now everyone's kind of giving him their opinion on like the whole being gay thing, or like asking for his skincare routine, or just assuming he's like a certain kind of gay. I think that was such a nice touch to add to the show, because that's literally one, something that was kind of touched on in Love, Simon, and two, something that really happens. So it really amused me when I saw that being added to the show. But yeah, overall I am happy with this season. I enjoyed myself throughout all of these episodes. I think this season's still very much providing me with the same wholesome teen feelings that I got when I watched the first season and what I got from when I watched Love, Simon. I think the wholesomeness is still very prevalent. I think the like casual relatability of the show is still very much there. So yeah, that's all of my thoughts on the second season of Love, Victor. I'm not gonna give it a rating or, you know, anything. I just wanted to have a conversation about the season and how I felt about it. Talk to me in the comments down below if you enjoyed this season. Who's your favorite character, and do you feel like Mia was wrongly treated this season? Because I surely do. Let me know in the comments down below, or talk to me on my social media at Sabrina Talks on Twitter and Instagram, and at Sabrina Talks to you on TikTok. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel for more commentary on TV shows, movies, and music. Share this video with your friends so we can all talk about the second season of Love, Victor. As always, thank you so much for watching, and please remember to be safe, be smart, be kind, and I'll catch y'all in my next video. Bye guys!